So topic 1.4 is about the density. Figure 3.1 shows, this is a structure paper 4, page 40. Figure 3.1 shows,
We didn't do it now.
yeah, we will do. Figure 3.1 shows the remote sensing equipment on the surface of a distant planet. State what is a mass of the equipment is 350 kilogram. The acceleration of a free fall on the surface of this planet is 7.5. What is meant by the term weight? How we define the term weight? Force acting on object due to gravity, or the gravitational force act on the object, or gravitational force act on the mass.
Can we write only gravitational force? No. Well, no, we can write gravity.
Gravitational force act on the mass. No, there's a difference between a gravity and a weight. Gravity means, when we say the term gravity, it means how much force is acting on 1 kilogram. Like the gravity of the earth is 9.8 Newton for 1 kilogram. This is the gravity of the earth. But when we talk about weight, weight is the total force which act on the object, which is a product of mass and gravity. Okay. Calculate the weight of the equipment on the planet. How to work out the weight? What's the formula?
Multiply 350 by 7.5.
So the formula, you have to recall the formulas. I have shared the formula sheets just now, like maybe 5 minutes ago. I've shared on the group, yes. Mass multiplied by gravity. So weight is mass multiplied by gravity. The mass of an object is 350. What about the gravity? Here, acceleration of the due to gravity is also known as a value of a gravity. Because, like example, without air resistance, if I drop any object on Earth, it will always have an acceleration of 9.8 meters per second square. And this acceleration is equivalent to value of the gravity on the Earth, which is also 9.8 Newton per kilogram. But without air resistance, because if there's an air resistance, the value of the gravity and the value of acceleration will not match. So in the question, they mentioned the acceleration of a free fall. So remember one thing, acceleration of the free fall is always equivalent to the value of the gravity on the planet. Like acceleration of a free fall on Earth is 9.8. So what is the gravity of the Earth on gravity on Earth? It's also 9.8. But acceleration of a free fall on this planet is 7.5. So what is the value of a gravity on this planet? That will be 7.5. So 350 times 7.5. What's the answer?
2625.
2625
Yes.
newtons. In physics exam, always write 1 mark is always writing a formula and 1 mark is for the answer. Some questions are of 3 marks, so it means if a question is of 3 marks, it means 2 formulas you have to use to solve. Like from the mark distribution, you can identify how many formulas to use. Yes.
If we don't get the unit, the whole answer will be wrong.
If we
don't get the unit, like
no.
There wouldn't.
But being a physics student, you should know what is the unit of these physical quantities. 4. General physics.
And is it necessary if we show the virtue of the question?
No, either you show the formula or you show a substitution in the formula. Example, if one student just write, say one student just write that 350 times 7.5, he will also score the mark. But if you directly write the answer, like you write 2625 Newton, you will score 1 mark. So either show a substitution in the formula or use a formula. Here. It's written, the file name was Journal Physics, blog, classified paper. Done? Next is, the equipment releases a balloon at a point that is a small distance from the surface, above the surface. The atmosphere at the surface of the planet has a density of 0.35. So 0.35 kilogram per meter cube is the density of the atmosphere. The mass of the balloon is 80 grams and the volume of the balloon is 0.3 meter cube. Make an appropriate calculation, then predict and explain the direction of motion. So how to predict the direction of the motion? If the density of a balloon is higher than the density of the atmosphere, it will sink, it will move downward. If the density of a balloon is less than the density of the atmosphere, it will rise. So actually what we have to do, we have to work out the density of the balloon. But the unit should be important, like the density of the atmosphere is kilogram per meter cube. So the density of the balloon should also be in kilogram per meter cube. So the density is mass over volume. What about the mass of the balloon? 80 gram. How much in kg? 80 gram.
0.08.
0.08. Because we want to convert the gram to kilogram. When you convert gram into kilogram, you divide it by 1000. So 80 divided by 1000, 0.08. The volume is already in cm cube, so we don't have to convert. So 0.08 divided by 0.3. What's the answer? 0. 0. Check again.
0.27.
27. 0.08 divided by 0.3. Yeah. So 0.27 is the density of the balloon and 0.235 is the density of the atmosphere. What will happen to this? Will it rise or sink? The density of a balloon is 0.27. The density of a balloon is 0.27 kilogram per meter cube. And density of the atmosphere, the surrounding is 0.35. What will happen?
Rise.
So it will rise. So it will move upward. So prediction, what we predict, we will say it will move upward. And the reason is that the density of the balloon is less than the density of atmosphere. Okay? Clear about this?
It said, how does the density
Density is how much matter is there in a unit volume.
how does it affect that it will?
Because if you have something dense, it means it has more particle in a small space. Means it will have a greater amount of the particle. Particles are very close, so stronger gravitational force it will experience for the same size. So it will sink.
Be able to enter that
What?
type. It won't be able to enter the atmosphere.
Not enter, sink in the fluid, yeah. Page 42, it's related to motion. Figure 1.1 shows a speed time graph for a vehicle accelerating from rest. This is speed time graph. Calculate the expression at time t is equals to 30 seconds. So how it can be done? Whenever you have a curve, whenever like speed time graph, you have a curve, you need an acceleration. So you have to draw a tangent. First, mark a point where time is equals to 30. So we mark a point where time is equals to 30, okay? Then draw a tangent. What is a tangent? A line which only touch a single point. That's a tangent. Length of the tangent, it's up to you. You can draw long or you can draw short, but try to draw at least 5 centimeter long tangent, okay? Minimum. Then what are the points? You have to take a gradient. How to work out the gradient? In maths, you have studied this formula for gradient. Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1. So first point on X-axis, that is X1. The second point on X-axis, anywhere you can take for the tangent, it's not like the last point. The first point on Y-axis Y1 and the second point will be Y2. So we just substitute, this is X1. What is the value for X1? 10 boxes here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 boxes equals to 20, so each is representing 4. So X1 is 4. What about X2? is 64 because one box after 60. What about y1? 10 boxes equals to 10. So each is representing 1. So y1 is 6. And what about y2? 26, 27. So y2 is 27. So how to work out a gradient? 27 minus 6 divided by 64 minus 4. So 27 minus 6, that's equals to 21 divided by 60. What's the answer? 21 divided by 60? 0.3 somewhat.
35.
7 by
35.
7 by 20.
So 0.35 meter per second square.
Sir, when do we use this tangent?
Whenever we have a speed time graph curve, we draw a tangent.
We draw a
If it was a
tangent to the point,
What?
like we draw a tangent to the point.
At the point where we want to determine the acceleration. Because in the question, we want to determine the acceleration at time is equals to 30 seconds. That's why specifically at 30 seconds we do. Without further calculation, how the acceleration at time 100 seconds compare with 10 seconds. At 100 seconds, this is a 100-second region and this is a 10-second.
It has to
Which-
do it has
So
to do
what
with
happened? Which is
acceleration.
a greater acceleration? At 10 seconds or at 100 seconds?
10.
At 100. Wow. At
At
10.
10 seconds.
Because speed time graph, the slope represent the acceleration. At 10 seconds, it no, but the slope is decreasing. The slope is decreasing, it means acceleration is decreasing. So it will have a greater acceleration at 10 and it will have a lower acceleration at 100. And when it becomes horizontal line, it means no acceleration.
You don't say vertical line. That's not.
Yeah, it does not make. So you don't have to suggest in terms of forces why any changes happen. So why any changes happen in terms of forces, you have to tell. Because shows a vehicle accelerating from rest. So if the acceleration is decreasing, what happened to resultant force? Resultant force will also decrease. Because acceleration and resultant force are directly proportional. If an slope decrease, acceleration decrease, so the resultant force will also decrease. So in terms of forces, we have to say, so what will happen in terms of forces? The resultant force is decreasing, the acceleration is decreasing, so the resultant force will also decrease. Or we can say the resistive forces are increasing. Acceleration is decreasing, so the resultant force will also decrease. Then the resultant force is decreasing, it shows that the resistive forces are increasing. Because resistive forces are the one which oppose the motion. So there's a driving force and there's a resistive force. Resultant force is driving minus resistive. So driving is constant. If a resistive force increase, so the resultant will decrease. Resultant will decrease. Resultant will decrease, resistive is increasing. The force which opposes the motion. Determine the distance traveled from 120 to 160 seconds. So from 120 to 160 seconds, what we have to do? We have to draw a speed time graph. We take area under the graph to get the distance traveled. So what is the shape? One side it is making a triangle and one is a rectangle. So find the area of a triangle which will be half base into height, and area of a rectangle, it will be length multiplied by width.